Mark Cavendish. He's actually doing it. We've been talking about this for months, and waking up and seeing this the other day in the morning when Deceuninck-Quick announced their roster, I did a triple take, because as much as I've been cheering for it, as much as I've been wanting to see it happen, I just actually did not think that we would actually see Mark Cavendish at the Tour de France this year, or maybe ever again.
Brought to you by Zwift. Find your fun with the indoor cycling app where fun is fast.
Yeah, and it's great because he has 30 stage wins. He's been in the Tour de France 12 times. His last there, 2018 or 2019, and he struggled over these last few years. And this is a shot for him to go back and just race the Tour de France. If he gets a second or a third, that'd be great. But if he gets a stage win, that would be amazing. He is one of the greats in cycling. He's the Tour de France. L'Equipe named him as the Tour de France's best ever sprinter a few years ago. And you remember back to those HTC high road days when he won 6 stages of the Tour de France. And this year's Tour de France has quite a few sprint stages. I think we were talking about before 8 sprint stages on offer. And Cav's going to be led out there by Morkov. And the Deceuninck-Quick team, of course, has Julian Alaphilippe. So they got those 2 arms in the team, and they should be pulling off a large number of stages. But Cav is back. But can he do it? There's going to be a lot of pressure, and we know Mark gets really kind of edgy when he's under the pressure. And also, it opens up a whole another can of worms as to why they left out Sam Bennett. If it was really an injury, if it was really that bad of an injury. There was an injury, but how bad was it?
Yeah, Gregor, there is, at this point, Tour de France men's rosters have been named, and riders who have been left off have things to say about it. We're going to get into the Bora Hansgrohe lineup in a minute, but Sam Bennett, there's all this, there's kind of a constant dynamic where before the Tour de France, a lot of high-profile transfers have been sort of, they're not public knowledge, but handshake deals have been made for high-profile riders to change teams the following year. Current teams get wind of this. We're looking at Sam Bennett leaving Deceuninck-Quick. There's always this kind of undercurrent when the Tour de France rosters are coming out where you have to kind of think that team managers are maybe taking a little bit of retribution, not investing in riders who are going to be leaving the team at the end of the year. And it looks like that might be happening a little bit to Sam Bennett.
Yeah, we heard Patrick Lefevere say in one of the local newspapers outlets there in Belgium, the team's base, that he doesn't think Bennett maybe has that serious of an injury, that he's starting to think more and more he has a fear of failure at the Tour de France. But Sam Bennett won 2 stages last year and came home with the green jersey, so you think Sam Bennett would have the confidence. But Lefevere is definitely stirring the pot. And we had of course, Sean Kelly, the Irish great, come out and speak in defense of Sam Bennett. And we, of course, spoke about how Sam Bennett's likely changing teams. There's a rumor he's going to go to Bora. And, of course, Sagan's going to Direct Energy and Pascal Ackermann to UAE Emirates. That's a whole nother topic. But, yeah, there's definitely some sort of things going on there. And to leave home Sam Bennett, you just don't know how bad that pain was that he was suffering. And Sam Bennett's come out and commented, and he said, it wasn't that bad, and he felt that he was ready to race. So feathers are ruffled.
Yeah, Gregor, I think that a lot of Irish cycling fans are going to be looking at the Deceuninck-Quick jerseys that they purchased last year after the Tour de France and maybe rethinking that purchase with Patrick Lefevere's comments about, that seems extreme to say that a star rider like that is faking injuries and is just mentally not prepared to win the Tour de France. That's interesting. Whatever the case, there are going to be a lot of Deceuninck-Quick fans on Isle of Man this year. But here's the last thing I'm going to say about Cavendish. This isn't a rider. There are a lot of riders where just going to the Tour de France is a victory. Just finishing the Tour de France is a huge career accomplishment. That's not the case for Mark Cavendish. He has one of the best, most capable sprint lead-out trains at his disposal this year in the biggest race in the world, a race where he's had a huge amount of success at. And whether or not he gets edgy under pressure, whether or not he can take the pressure, he's got to be able to do it because he has, the best team backing him up. And I mean, on one hand, it does kind of seem like a fairy tale to think about Mark Cavendish winning another stage, winning 2 stages, but he made the roster, and now that's his job, whether he likes it or not. I think that for Deceuninck-Quick to take this action, to leave Sam Bennett at home, to take Mark Cavendish, I don't think that a team of that caliber is making these decisions out of sentimentality, looking at Mark Cavendish, it's like, oh, this is a great story, let's see what he can do. No, there's none of that. He is going to be expected to perform, and that's what I'm going to expect too. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him, coming over Peter Sagan, coming over Caleb Ewan, and winning a stage. If he's made it this far, you have to expect that he can go the extra distance and actually succeed at the Tour.